In this video, I'm going to go through my recommended best settings on an LG C10 or C9 OLED TV to get the highest picture quality for playing games on the Xbox Series X. Hello everyone, Vincent Teo from HDTV Test here. This is an LG 48-inch CX or C10 OLED TV, and across there I have an Xbox Series X console. You probably can't see the full shot from this camera angle, but I prefer having it lying flat because it just feels more natural to slot things in that way. So what we're going to do is to try and go through some of my recommended best settings on the LG OLED. Because I've actually calibrated and tinkered with this TV, what I'm going to do in the first instance is to reset this TV to its out-of-the-box state so that you can see, what changes you need to make from your point of view. So if we go into support and we can select reset to initial settings, this will reset the television. And in a way, I'm a bit sad because, I've spent a lot of time calibrating this television, creating 3D LUTs using AutoCal and stuff, and I'm going to lose them all, deleting all my calibration profiles. And also I used to have an Amazon Alexa account on here where I listen to music from time to time, and also a Netflix account where I have a secret profile where I try to watch stuff that I don't want people to know that I'm watching. So those are all going to be gone, and it is all a sacrifice that I'm willing to take to create this video for you. So you can currently see the startup screen from when you first unbox an LG CX or C10 OLED. It is like entering her for the first time. Again, I've been waiting a long time for this. So if I can press the OK button, and we'll just skip through this, exit first use. And yes. So the default input will be the digital Freeview tuner. What we're going to do is to go to HDMI 1. Now I think, at the beginning, the mouse cursor isn't very sensitive. It's not properly calibrated. So we'll go to the Xbox HDMI input, and let's go through some of the settings here. And I think, if we can go into TV and display options, 4K TV details, you can see that, it doesn't support a lot of these features. And this is probably because, a lot of the settings on the TV is wrong. It is defaulting to a resolution of 1080p. I don't know why. But if I can get into the user menu of the TV, it is stuck on eco mode. And it has this settings tip screen here, which I generally prefer to switch off. So if I can get into the general menu and then additional settings and settings help, I prefer turning it off because I don't really like being told what to do. And if I can get back to the picture option, turn off energy saving, because the default energy saving option of auto will automatically change the picture on screen depending on the ambient light detected and also the content on screen. So we don't want any meddling from the display side. So we'll just switch it off, and then what we'll do is we will try and engage one of the settings in here called the HDMI Ultra HD Deep Color. So if we actually engage the setting here, what this will do is to enable HDMI 2.1 capability on this LG CX or C10 OLED. It also applies to the C9. In fact, it also applies to the B9 and B10 and also the G10, GX, whatever you want to call it. In fact, I probably should call it, the Xbox Series 10, isn't it? Like Xbox Series X, Xbox Series 10. But engaging HDMI Ultra HD Deep Color is necessary to unlock the full HDMI 2.1 capabilities of this set. So you can see here that it has actually gone into game mode with the instant game response. And what we're going to do is to go for 4K resolution, and let's go for don't show again, keep new refresh rate, And then you can see that, all these options and parameters are now ticked. And one thing that you need to be mindful of on the TV, the picture is a bit too blue. I mean, blue is the coolest color, but I generally can't stand it. It's an eyesore to me. So if you go into the game settings, if we go to advanced controls, if we go to white balance and switch the color temperature to warm 2, which is closest to the industry standard of D65, so that's much more palatable to me. So what I wanted to show you is first to not engage AMD FreeSync Premium. So you can see here under the 4K TV details, this TV has been determined by the console to be supporting all these parameters, including 4K at 120 Hz. But let's say if you engage AMD FreeSync Premium, if we engage AMD FreeSync Premium here, then what it will do is to still keep 4K at 120 Hz, but you will lose Dolby Vision support. This is because in order for LG to cram the FreeSync capabilities into the EDIT, well, EDIT is basically identification label on the display that tells the console what it is capable of. So in order for the TV to tell the console that it is capable of FreeSync, unfortunately, some characters have to be sacrificed in the EDIT, and the most obvious attribute that has been deemed worthy of a sacrifice is Dolby Vision. So if you engage AMD FreeSync Premium, you will lose Dolby Vision. So my first tip for any LG CX or C10 OLED owners is to just not use AMD FreeSync, just disable it, because there is no advantage of AMD FreeSync Premium over the open standard HDMI 4M VRR that this TV and also the Xbox Series X support. So you can see here that Dolby Vision support has been restored. So as I was saying earlier, there is no advantage of AMD FreeSync over the open standard HDMI 4M VRR when it comes to the Xbox Series X, because the Xbox Series X will support both standards. And I know some people and some quarters still believe that AMD FreeSync is critical to LFC or low frame rate compensation, but that's not the case. Low frame rate compensation is baked in within the VRR source anyway, so any GPU, including the GPU on the Xbox Series X, will automatically double or triple the frame if it is too low to get it into the VRR range of the display. So you certainly don't need AMD FreeSync Premium when you already have the open standard HDMI 4M VRR. If you choose AMD FreeSync Premium over HDMI 4M VRR, it's basically just like driving a car with 6 wheels when you can drive a perfectly normal 4-wheel car. Or another analogy that I can think of is, you insist that you have to buy a branded Panadol tablet rather than just go into Aldi and get a generic paracetamol tablet for 16p, for a really big box. I don't know whether that's still the price. I haven't been to Aldi recently after I, made it on YouTube. So that's what AMD FreeSync is all about. So I would recommend you not engaging it, because you will lose Dolby Vision support if you engage it. So that's the first thing. And what we're going to do now is to try and engage 120 Hz support. So you can see here that this TV is fully capable of 4K at 120 Hz resolution and refresh rate from the Xbox Series X. This is assuming that you have installed the latest firmware. Let me just check, what firmware version is on this LG 48-inch CX. So I think it is the most current one, I think 03.11.25 as where I'm based anyway. So that's the most current one. I think there's another beta one that is supposed to fix the high frame rate stutter with VRR, but I haven't managed to get my hands on it yet. So with that out of the way, the second thing that I want to show you is the output from the Xbox Series X when you have selected 4K at 120Hz. So if we bash the green button on the remote control multiple times, you can see that, the FreeSync information bar, which is an Easter egg menu, I suppose, is showing that the console is outputting full RGB. RGB is the full chroma, 10-bit with 4 lanes with 10 gigabits per second. So this confirms that the Xbox Series X is using an HDMI 2.1 chipset with a bandwidth of 40 gigabits per second, which ties in nicely with the 40 gigabits per second HDMI 2.1 chipset or SoC on this LG C10 or CX OLED. And because it is actually outputting in RGB, we should try and take advantage of it and try and get 444 chroma. So I would like to thank my kind colleague, Mr. Adam Fairclough, who is also known as Evil Boris online, for this tip. I think, it is probably worthwhile trying to get full 444 chroma. So the way to do it is to engage PC mode on the TV, obviously. But before doing that, I wanted to show you what 422 chroma looks like. So if I can open up the Media Player app and then pull up my own custom authored chroma subsampling test pattern. So you can see here that this TV together with the console is downsampling the chroma to 422. And what we're going to do is to engage PC mode on the TV to get the highest fidelity in terms of the chroma subsampling. So to do that, what we're going to do is to press the input button and then go to Home Dashboard. And then we will go to this gear button, cogwheel button, pardon me, and click on Edit. And if we can click on this icon here, change it to PC, click on Save, and then go to Exit. You can see that I've done this a few times, haven't I? So if we go into this again, you can see that, at least we can see HDTV test 444 chroma there. So this is reproducing the 444 chroma. It is not the cleanest 444 chroma test pattern because it is being upscaled. And I don't know how to not upscale it using the Media Player app, but it is certainly different from the pure 422 chroma when the TV was not in PC mode. So with the TV in PC mode, you also will need to try and readjust most of the settings, because I think, the settings in PC mode is different from non-PC mode. So let me just go through this game mode setting. This is for SDR, by the way. So for SDR, what we need to do is to just bring sharpness all the way down to avoid any unnecessary edge enhancement. And then color, just go to 50, which is the default. And then the default for an accurate picture, by the way. And under advanced controls, gamma will go for 2.4 gamma. And then under white balance, we will go for a warmer color temperature that is more accurate or closer to the D65 white point used within the film and broadcast and increasingly game industry. And if we go into picture options, many of these options are grayed out because, in PC or game mode, these video processing will be creating additional latency, which is not what we want. One thing to take care of is to check that black level is reproduced correctly. So low would be the correct value, and I would be inclined to switch it on low all the time. Whereas if you selected high, then it will be expanding the signal to full range, which may create a bit more banding with the wrong input signal. So low is generally the best idea. And the thing with PC mode, why people have been avoiding it in the past on LG OLEDs, is because they had a tendency to introduce banding to 10-bit content. But I think this has been eradicated. This has been fixed since a few firmware cycles ago, not only on the C10 but also on the C9. And certainly when I actually displayed a grayscale RAM pattern from the excellent Ryan Maciulla HDR10 test disk, I couldn't see any increase in banding or posterization when I toggle between PC mode and non-PC mode. So as far as I'm concerned, the PC mode is all good now. You get full 444 chroma and also no increase in posterization or banding. And the thing with 444 chroma is that, the minute improvement in chroma detail is unlikely to be seen in games, especially in fast moving games over 422 chroma. But I suppose my philosophy is that if you have a big fat pipe, you might as well take full advantage of it. So that's why we went for 444 chroma and we engaged PC mode. And I went to the trouble of showing you how to engage PC mode here. So the next thing what we are going to do is to get out from here and then check the settings on the Xbox are all correct. So you can see here that 4K at 120 Hz, 4K TV details, all these are correct. And then, another thing that I need to actually mention to you is that, both the Xbox Series X and the LG C10 and also last year's C9, the B9 and also the E9 and also the G10, GX, I think, they all support HGIG. And HGIG stands for HDR Gaming Interest Group. It is basically an effort by many different manufacturers, many big name manufacturers, some of the most famous manufacturers, including Sony, including Microsoft, including LG, including Samsung, to come together and come up with an HDR workflow that provides a better gaming experience for you people out there. And if I click on it, this will start the HGIG calibration screen on the console, and you can see that instant game response is launched, and I believe that the HDR logo popped up previously while I was talking to the camera. So if I can go into the picture menu of the TV, you can see that this is in HDR game mode. So again, I have to go through the same process to try and get a more accurate picture. Obviously, these settings, they will get you a more accurate picture, but I can't say that they are calibrated. I believe that calibration can still bring an improvement to the picture quality, especially with regards to the tone mapping according to the individual peak brightness of your display of your individual unit. But under dynamic tone mapping, you can see that there is an option called HGIG, and if you select that, what you will do is to ask the TV not to do any tone mapping whatsoever. So it will follow the PQ-UOTF curve. So PQ-UOTF stands for perceptual quantization, electro-optical transfer function. So it will follow the curve very nicely until the maximum peak brightness capability of the display, and then it will hard clip. By hard clip, it means that, let's say in the source signal, there is some specular highlight detail that exceeds the peak brightness capability of the display, then it will be discarding these specular highlight details, so it will look blown out. But that is okay because we are depending on the console and also the game to do the tone mapping. What we don't want is for, let's say, the console to apply one set of tone mapping already, and then the TV applies another set of tone mapping, what we call double tone mapping, which is counterintuitive to the entire purpose. So what we want to do is to try and ask the TV to don't touch anything, just let the console do all the work, and that's what HGIG is all about. So if you engage HGIG, engaging HGIG is necessary for this screen to work properly, because otherwise if you engage, let's say, dynamic tone mapping, or if you even leave it off, what the TV will be doing is still apply some sort of tone mapping, and you will be constantly chasing your own tail because you can never get the pattern to hard clip. Well, you can, but it is more difficult. It's basically like going into a hotel. Some of the hotels in England, they provide tea making facilities, and they provide these really small cups of milk, sealed and stuff. So when you brew a tea and when you make a cup of tea, however many, say, cups of milk you pour inside, the tea just never turns in color and it's just the same level. So that's chasing your own tail. That's my analogy. So from that point of view, HGIG is a good thing, and it hard clips so the console can do all the work. So if you select HGIG and then create, and then go to get out from HGIG, and then what we'll do is, actually, the screen still looks too blue to me. I mean, I get eyesore, from watching blue screens. So I can't help myself but go into the white balance menu to try and get closer to the D65 standard. Much better. And we go to next and just follow the instructions from the screen to set the console, which will apply different black point and then white point and also paper white and stuff, so that the console will know how to tone map the game to the display if the game indeed does support HGIG. And even if the game doesn't support HGIG, I believe it is of interest to use this option because you just don't want to double tone map or even triple tone map, basically. So those are the key things that I want to talk about when I go through an LG C10 or C9 OLED when setting it up for an Xbox Series X, and hopefully I'll be able to bring you another video in the future with the Sony PS5 as well. And if there's enough interest, obviously I will go through these different settings and try and explain what all of them do and what are the best settings. But yes, if you like to learn more about next-gen consoles and HDMI 2.1, I've created a playlist here if you'd like to click on it, and I'll see you in the next video.